Hello and welcome. In today's session, we're going to talk about validation rules in Salesforce. In any software that we create, the software is as good or the application is as good as the data that we store within our system. As they say, junk in, junk out. If the user enters incorrect data, then that value or that software basically is giving incorrect information and makes it worthless. So we always have to place some kind of validation in our software to ensure that the user enters correct data. All of us, when we use apps online, are actually using or going through the validation process without even knowing it. So for instance, a lot of us when we travel might use something like Priceline or Travelocity or Expedia or more of the other sites. But let's say I'm traveling from Miami on a one-way flight to LAX, Los Angeles. Today's September the 17th. But suppose by mistake, I'm not paying attention, instead of the 17th, I put September the 16th. So basically, I'm traveling yesterday. Logically, that should not happen, but we are human and mistakes happen. So instead of putting October 16th, I want to put or went ahead and put September 16th by mistake. A validation rule should not allow me to make such a mistake. If there's a validation rule, it should block out anything prior to today, prior to September the 17th. So let's look at the drop down. And sure enough, anything after the 17th is colored, which means I can click on it. But the 16th and any day prior to today's date is, I cannot double click on it. I cannot choose it. I can only select today's date moving forward. So that's a very good example of a validation rule. Another good validation rule is usually airlines, because of changes in prices, unexpected future, do not allow you to book more than a year in advance. So if today's September the 17th, 2020, I should not be able to book a flight on September 17, 2021. But let's go ahead and give it a try and see if there's a validation rule or not. So notice the colors here, which means I can choose. And let's go into September. Oh, well, notice I can't even go to September next year. And the 13th of August of next year is the last day I can choose. I can't even choose the 14th. So that goes to give us a good example of two validation rules in this field. So this field has two validation rules. Number one, you choose a prior date. Number two, I can choose more than a year in advance. So in Salesforce, today's lab, what we're going to do is we're going to try and create our own validation rule together. Now I've created a software for manufacturers of chemical products where people can order it. And suppose I'm creating two new manufacturers, and that's manufacturer A and their telephone number. And usually a telephone number within the US should not be more than 10 digits. But let's go ahead and try putting more than that. So with the phone number, we'll put, let's say, 13 digits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Should not be able to save that. So that was a data entry, and sure enough, I'm able to save it. Well, let's go ahead and create another manufacturer. We'll call them B. Now I make a mistake and put alphabets in the phone number. For instance, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Save it. Now let's look at the list of manufacturers that we have. And I do have A with a telephone number that's more than 10 digits, and B who has alphabets instead of numbers. So we want to place the validation rule on the phone number that always makes sure that the phone number is 10 digits. 10 and digits. All right, so we start by going to Setup. We're looking at the manufacturer object, so we go to Objects and Fields, Object Manager. It's called Manufacturer, so we'll go to our Manufacturer object. Let's edit that. We're creating a validation rule, so here we go. And then we'll create a new one. Okay. And the rule name is validate phone. If I have active check, it means it's always going to check whenever you're entering data. If I disable it, it means it's there, but it's not working. So for some reason, if you're loading phone numbers, let's say from an Excel sheet, and you just want to load all the data, you might want to make it inactive, load all your data, and then make it active again if that's the condition that you'd like to work with. But as long as it's active, it's always going to work. You can put a description. Now, what do I need to do? I need to use a function, and that function applies to a field. And in some cases, there's an operator that I use. Okay, so let's go ahead and give that a try. For example, I want to make sure that the length of the phone number is 10 digits. So one of my functions is going to be for length. Let's look at the different functions. And sure enough, len, which is short for length. As you can see, there's a short description, len, and then you put the text, means returns the number of characters in a text string. So if you click on anyone, it gives you a description of what that one is. And now I have len. So I'm going to insert that selected function. And now for the text, I'm going to choose which field I have. I don't remember the name of the fields in the manufacturer objects. What do? I can click on insert field. And now I have a list of all the fields that are in there. I'll go ahead and choose phone, insert phone. So now it's checking for the length, and I want it to be equal to 10. Again, if I don't know the syntax, all I have to do is go to the operator. And then I want it, because it's a validation means it's supposed to equal to. So if it's not equal to 10, that's an error message. So I'm going to click on not equal to 10. And then I can go in and save it. Now it's saying, what's the error message? What do you want to tell that user? And you can see that is required. What do you want to tell that user? And then that is, please ensure that phone is 10 digits. Okay, so now we go back to our object and try and create a new phone number. Let's see, and the phone number is only 123. It says, please ensure the phone is 10. And if it's more, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, please ensure the phone is 10. Let's make sure it's exactly 10. And sure enough, I'm able to save it. However, can it also be alphanumeric? And the answer is yes. In other words, can I create a manufacturer E with a telephone number of ABC? Just click save. It's not 10 digits. However, it's alphanumeric. So what we can do is also make sure that our validation rule has more than one condition. So we can put more rules, and then we'll add what's called the OR clause. We can add multiple rules, validation checks, and then we add the OR clause so that we're checking for all of those conditions. So now we figured out the first one. Let's go ahead and figure out the second one, which is I want to make sure that it's numeric. So if it's not numeric, if it is not numeric, then I want to make sure I put an error message. So I'm looking for something such as is number. And then I want to make sure that it's not number. If it's not numeric, that's when I want to put that error message. So notice there is a check that is number. That's what I want. Selected it. And all I have to do is put the is not, which is the exclamation mark, which is the shift, and then the number 1 on your keyboard. So now I'm checking for it, but what field? Okay, let's double click on here and add the field, which is our phone number, and insert it. Okay, so now I'm checking for more than one. So what I need is to add the OR check, or the OR value. How do we do that? I simply need to scroll down and go to OR. And basically the OR tells me that put your logical 1, comma, logical 2, comma. So if you have 2 rules, you put the 2 of them separated by a comma within the brackets. If you have 10 rules, that's fine. 1, comma, 2, comma, and it has to be between the 2 brackets where you have the OR. So what I'm going to do is move this here, followed by a comma, and then move this next to it, separated by a comma. And sure enough, I mean, it doesn't all have to be on the same line, so you could, open your brackets and just have them on separate lines, separated by the comma. Whatever is fancy for you and looks good and whatever easier for you to read, by all means, that's what you want to do. Okay? So, or, which means it's going to check for those two. It's going to make sure that it's 10 digits and it's only numeric. It cannot be alphabetic. So please ensure that the phone is 10 numeric digits. So now I have both conditions. We're going to click Save. And it's active, which means that they're working. So let's go back in here, add a new manufacturer, and we'll call them ABC. And their telephone number is A, B, C, D, E, F. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it is 10, however, it's not numeric. So please ensure the phone is 10 digits. And 1, 2, 3, again, I can't save it because yes, it's numeric, but it's not 10 digits. So let's finish it, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now I'm able to save it. So in this exercise, we've looked at validation rules, how we can have one, how with the or statement, we could have multiple for the same field. But then sometimes I'm checking for dates, sometimes I'm checking for different values, sometimes for alphanumeric. So one of the greatest things that I would advise is in our validation rules, when we're creating a new validation rule, is take the time to study each one of those conditions, and it has a little description on the bottom. And then another thing as well is look at examples. It's a good starting point. So we have an example. If I want to make sure that this field is greater than a certain value, then let's go ahead and click on more examples. And as you can see, there's multiple values where I can look at account validation rules. A lot of times we're doing date validation rules and so on and so forth. So maybe users, if you're doing anything on security as well. So those are good places where you could start to look at different examples of validation rules. I hope you guys enjoyed it and able to use it to make our data entry more consistent. Thank you for your time.